Welcome to another edition of First Person, again sponsored by the Ruin Camp Company in Fort Loramie, Ohio. 81 years of experience for farm, residential, and commercial. They'll make water work for you. If you got wet grounds, call Phil Barhorst, again at the Ruin Camp Agency or Company in Fort Loramie. University of Dayton today, the guy on my right needs very little explanation for one and introduction for two, because he's Archie Miller, the coach of the UD basketball men's team. And I will say to you, Coach, that of almost 3 years to the day, we did this before when you first came here, your first media day. And I will say it's been a great 3 years for me. I'm guessing it's been a pretty good 3 years for you as well.
Oh yeah, it's been a fast 3 years as well. I mean, the first thing you realize is how fast time flies, you know, when you're this busy, you know, running a program, building a program, you know, with kids every day. And there's a lot on our plate, but this is a great place to be. It's a really, really fun place to coach at because of such a passionate fan base and such a supportive administration that, you know, it makes it easy to go to work every day.
You wrapped up last year on a good note too, and I want to talk about that because you had the great run in the NCAA tournament with the wins over Ohio State, Syracuse, and Stanford. You know, we talk about the term epiphany. It gets thrown around, that word, which is an enlightening or an eye-opening experience, and I would have to say for the university community and to basketball fans across the country, that was an epiphany in the name of Dayton basketball and Archie Miller.
Well, it was a great stage to be on, and it was a great stage to play on and compete and win. It gives you, you know, great pride in what you're doing is working, and also great pride in the group of people that you were with. It was a great team, great kids. But I think the other thing that was very enlightening was for about 3 weeks, when you're the talk of the basketball world, or at least one of them, it is able to shine a light on your school, your city, your fan base. And to me, that was the thing that resonated, I think, more than anything, was how passionate our fans were, how supportive, how the town sort of really revolves around us a little bit in some ways, and you know, the nation got a chance to see that.
You know, in one respect, those are three enormous games for the fact of Dayton basketball. But I was thinking about on this driving down today, there really are no insignificant games here. Whether you're playing Walsh or you're playing Washington State, you're packed every night over here. It's an opportunity to make a great first impression on the first time a fan's been here or the person that's been here for 40 years. They always want to see you do well. There really are no insignificant games given the importance of basketball at Dayton.
No, I think that's one of the things that's very unique about this place, is regardless of whether we're in Exhibition 1, Game 1, or Game 31, it feels the same. And they want us to do well. They're cheering for our players. They're cheering with our fans. It's not one of those places that, you know, sort of shows up when it's a big game, or when it's a conference game they'll be around. It's none of that here. And I think that being at a basketball school, a basketball savvy town, having an arena that is so unique, that the NCAA wants to host games there more than any other place in the country, that it's a great time of year as well. So there's a lot of great things about what we got going on, but there's a lot of responsibility with that too.
I always think about the responsibility part that basketball pays a lot of bills here, and you know that as well as any. That's why there are no insignificant games here. That first impression is so important. I've watched you over the course of 2 years, and I always get this impression that you're a grinder on the sideline, and then on the post-game conferences we talk about, I've asked you before about this particular win satisfying to you. He says, well, that was 30 minutes ago. Tomorrow's another game. This week's another week. This is another month, another season, another year. On the other hand, there has to be a time, and I know you come from a basketball family, where you sat down after those 3 games in March and really had some time to take stock of it, to appreciate it, to talk about it with your dad, who's a significant name in Pennsylvania basketball, and your brother, who's the coach at Arizona. Am I true? Did you guys have a little time to sit down and say, what do you think of that?
Sort of. You know, things very quickly after the season ended, you know, you start to phase into the next sort of cycle. And before you realize it, a couple cycles go by and you're in June, and then you're in recruiting mode, and you're trying to plan for the following season. But did take a couple minutes, I think, with some important people to sit down and talk about, how special it was and how unique it is, and how hard it is to do what we did, and it was a lot of fun. I had the most fun, really watching other people, to be honest with you. Watching our fan base in Memphis was something I got a big kick out of. We don't leave the hotel, but all anyone wants to talk about is what's going on outside the hotel. And so there was a lot of fun. There was a lot of conversations about it, and that's what's special about March Madness. It gives you opportunities to create memories, and we did one about as big as you can get.
Please tell me that your dad came to you and said, "Son, I'm proud of you."
He had a good time. He was with us through our March run, but he also was following Sean from a distance. So he has two things he's balancing at one time. He had a very, very unique March, one that I think he was very, very proud of. Yeah, he should be. Archie Miller, the coach of the UD men's basketball team, our guest on First Person. I want to talk a little bit about basketball with you because I did a little research when you played at North Carolina State. It appeared to me you were a pretty good shooter of the basketball. And we talk so much now in area high school that we see, and we see a ton of games between the beginning of the season and the state tournament of kids and what some coaches say the emphasis of basketball, the essence of basketball being lost for the fact of shooting. And I want to give you an opportunity to talk a little bit about that because you were a good shooter. You were a point guard at NC State, and you had to make shots count. When I grew up, Jerry West was a great shooter. Now you talk about Jerry West to kids and they say, well, he didn't even dunk. He couldn't have been good. Talk about the essence of shooting and its importance to basketball. It's the name of the game. I mean, it doesn't matter how you break it down. When you play the game of basketball, the ball has to go in. And I think put the ring in the thing in the ring. You got to put it in there. And I think we pride ourselves on skill development. We pride ourselves on shooting the basketball. We've had a lot of success in our first 3 seasons shooting the basketball. But it takes time. You have to do it every day. You have to take time out of your schedule, your routine to shoot the ball if you want to be good at it. And when I grew up, I was very fortunate. My dad was a high school coach who spent an abnormal amount of time with his kids, and skill development was his thing. And we shot thousands of shots to be good at it. And I think nowadays, when you get that feeling of you don't know a Jerry West or whatever, times have changed. It's more about playing ball now. It's more about playing against people now, more so than it is spending time in a gym working on your elbow underneath the ball and some things like that. So I do think that the times have changed, but the talent has also changed as well. Talk about the times have changed. That business, it's a much more physical game. And the kids are bigger, they're faster, stronger. We talk about this all the time. The court hasn't changed. It's the same size. I don't want to pick on AAU basketball, but the fact that you're doing more playing and less time of skill development, has that impacted the game negatively? I don't necessarily know if it's impacted it negatively, but you see less skilled players. The scores in college basketball are what they are because there's drastically different styles of coaching. There's also a 35-second shot clock, and the game's officiated a certain way. If rule changes come into play, or widening the lane, or shortening the shot clock, or not calling certain fouls, or calling certain fouls, the scores will go up, drastically. But I think that AAU basketball has created a landscape of hype. It's created a landscape of rankings. It's created a landscape of talented players trying to get to the NBA or earn a scholarship. But I think once they get there, the level of player, the skilled level of player in some cases isn't the same as probably it was 10 years ago. I hear you talk about this all the time post-game over at the arena about skills and the things necessary to win a basketball game. And you did that in those 3 games against Ohio State and Stanford and Syracuse. Shot the ball very well, but the little things that I hear you talk about all year long in A-10 against A-10 teams all came together for you. Important. There's so many different ways you can win a basketball game. Oh, there's a lot of ways to skin a cat. There's 2 sides of the ball, number one. But you have to play together. And I think one thing that we've always tried to pride ourselves on is being able to beat you with a lot of people and doing it a lot of different ways and having some versatility. And I thought that was one of the things that helped us as we entered the tournament. Because we play in a really good league against really good styles, our style is sort of battle-tested to play against anybody. And when you're able to play against an Ohio State, turn around and play against a Syracuse, and you don't have to recreate yourself in 24 hours, that's something that you have to have as a system and believe in, and I think that's something that we have. You have said before, and I believe this,
you have to win here with, you don't have big people, big 6'11", 7'7" people. You have one here with more diminutive players like Devin Oliver. I look up there. You're going to miss some of those guys, and you're going to expect a lot more from the Jalen Robinsons and the Scoochie Smiths and the people coming back this year. What were those 3 wins worth to those kids? Because they're all recruited as great players, but sometimes you come into a scenario, you see other guys as good as you, maybe better than you, and you lose that confidence. What did those 3 wins do for them?
Well, I think those 3 wins did a lot for them just in terms of understanding how big and how special winning is. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
A lot of people don't understand that winning is hard, and you have to do it unconditional. You have to be so selfless in what you do. And I think a lot of those guys who had reserved roles or would like bigger roles, you know, really contributed in big ways because they added chemistry. Now, as years go by and you recruit players, they get better and they get their opportunities and they get the golden egg put in their hands. They just can't drop it. And, you know, a lot of guys, you know, from freshman to sophomore, sophomore to junior years, as they get experience, they start to turn into the player that you thought they could. And I think a Scooch Smith will be a prime example as a young freshman who contributed and had moments, now has a chance to grab the ball and run our team and be an impact player as a sophomore. And do it the old-fashioned way where you don't come in and expect things, but you got to earn them.
I know people are going to want to hear you talk a little bit about the 2014 and 15 season coming up, because we go out to a great area of the country up in Mercer and Algoa, Shelby counties, over there in Darke County. That's Flyer country, a lot of alumni up there. Talk a little bit about the prognosis of the team that you have coming back. You got a couple of nice recruits from that area.
Yeah, we do, and you know, our young players, new guys, are going to have to, you know, learn quickly. They're going to be asked to do some things. I think Daryl Davis has a chance as a freshman, very talented guard out of Detroit, to give us an offensive boost that we'll probably lose with some of the perimeter guys that we lost last year. But I'm really concerned about our older guys. You know, I think you're only as good as your oldest players. You can ask a freshman to be good all you want. You're never going to get that consistency. So our seniors, our Syberts, our juniors, our Scotts, Robinsons, Pierres, those guys have to be really good. They have to take control of the locker room. They have to be great in practice. They have to know that because they've been here the longest, the expectations for them to lead is most important. And then I think our freshman and sophomore class all had moments, but they had reserved roles. How do they transform into not more of a role guy, but more of a in there all the time guy? So we have a lot of working parts of development going on, but we're looking for consistency from our older players, and if we get that, I think we'll be okay.
I know when you came here and we did that interview 3 years ago, you said this is one of the best jobs in the country. I'm privileged to be here, and I have to say, in this year coming up 3 years, you've made it an even better job, and I know at the end of the day that's what you want to do. You want to leave it better than you found it and enjoy it while you're here. Appreciate your time, Coach.
Thank you very much.
Great to have you. Archie Miller, the head coach of the UD basketball men's team, here again sponsored by the Ruin Camp Company in Fort Loramie. Seafield Barhorst, 80 years experience in farm, residential, commercial. They'll make water work for you. Again, for the sponsors and Coach Miller, our appreciation for your support of various sports here on PressProsMagazine.com. We'll see you next time with another edition of First Person.